na. Sige, go. So, hi everyone! Good afternoon and welcome to Paw Pantry Mission's another hashtag PPM Talk, a webinar series on animal welfare and care. So, for today's topics, we will tackle on Philippine laws on animal welfare, cases of animal cruelty, and how we will report all of this. Okay? So before mo adto sa atong first speaker, hi, my name is Karen and I am a co-founder of Paw Pantry Mission and I will be your host for today. We also have Cha and July from Paw Pantry Mission here with us. And we at PPM would like to thank each and every one of you for joining us this hot Saturday afternoon and for taking interest in our topic for today. So hello to our friends who joined us here on Zoom and to everyone who is watching us from Facebook. So hello guys. Yay. Okay. So before anything else and before I introduce our very first speaker, I would like to give everyone a brief background about Paw Pantry Mission or PPM because I'm pretty sure that some of you just met PPM today, just today. So okay, so this will just be brief. So, Paw Pantry Mission is a Cebu-based animal welfare organization that supports community feeding and fixing of stray animals. So, it started as an initiative between friends to help animal organizations and individual stray feeders on a biannual basis through our community pet food drive, and this will be discussed by Cha later on. Okay, so without further ado, I will now introduce our first speaker. So he is a practicing lawyer based in Cebu City, and he specializes in litigation, handling various kinds of cases. So he is an animal welfare advocate involved in rescuing and fostering cats and does volunteer work for stray feeding and low-cost spay and neuter activities. So his family's first dog is Paulette, and now he is a fur dad to Ari, Ayana, Lynx, Camp, Pochi, Hachi, and Berry. So everyone, here is our first speaker, Attorney Richard Caminade. So, hello, Attorney.
Hi, good afternoon, Maklaro la. Hello?
Klaro lang, maklaro na, Attorney.
Okay. May we know if we have other audiences here who are not conversant with Bisaya language?
Yeah, we have someone from Los Baños actually.
Okay.
From Cats of UPLB.
I'll try to ha. My Tagalog is rusty.
No problem po.
Anyway, I'm done with share with it. Wait for a while, ha. It says here, host disabled participants screen sharing.
Wait. Kuan di ay? Okay. Ala, dili pag yun na ko ma-change.
Then
Wait
kindly
lang.
try that ulit, sir.
Na-share na nimo? Or wala, gihapon. Kani, tugot.
Ako na lang mag-share.
Okay, I'm there na.
Makita ra? Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes, attorney, makita nila.
Yes, attorney.
I apologize, ha. This is my first time presenting PowerPoint sa Zoom. Wait. Ang tanga doon. Okay. Okay. Hi, good afternoon. So, can you hear me?
Yes, attorney.
Yes, attorney. Good afternoon.
Okay. Today I will be discussing laws on responsible pet ownership. But just a disclaimer, I will focus mainly on cats and dogs because they're the most common pets na to, no? The laws that I will be discussing will be limited to the Animal Welfare Act, the Anti-Rabies Act, and Article 2183 of the new Civil Code. So let's proceed first to Animal Welfare Act. This is Republic Act 8485. It was first passed on 1998 and amended by Republic Act 10631 on 2012, mainly to increase the penalties of the violations. The implementing rules and regulations for this law provides that it should be interpreted strictly in favor of the welfare and rights of the animals by ensuring the protection and security of their 5 basic freedoms. So what are these 5 basic freedoms? These are their freedom from hunger or thirst, from discomfort, from pain, injury, or disease, from their freedom to express normal behavior, and freedom from fear and distress. Before delving into the discussions of responsibilities and liabilities, let's define first these terms as used in this in this law and in this presentation. The animal, as defined, is all sentient creatures other than human beings, which shall include but not limited to terrestrial, aquatic, and marine animals. So sentient means they can sentient means they are able to perceive or feel things. So animals have feelings too. Next is person. A person is defined as any individual, partnership, corporation, or association. I included this in a definition of terms because there are instances where a single person or where the violator is not an individual or not a single person, but a juridical person. So next is person responsible. The word responsible here is not used to describe the person. So this is not a responsible person, but person responsible. There's a difference because as defined in the implementing rules and regulations, a person responsible is any person having ownership, charge, control, custody, responsibility, or possession of any animal, whether it be permanent or temporary basis. It is also a person who purchases or otherwise acquires through donation, gift, succession, assignment, or any other method, ownership, custody, control, or possession of the animal. So the word responsible there is not really to describe the person, but only to attribute liability to that person, attribute rights and obligations for that person as pet owner. You may ask, are foster care covered by the definition of person responsible? Yes, it is covered because we are having the foster parent is having charge. It may not be ownership, but charge, control, and custody, even if it's on a temporary basis. So foster for parents are also person responsible as defined in this law. We also have to define abandonment. It means relinquishing of all rights, title, claim, or possession of the animal, with the intention of not reclaiming or resuming its ownership or possession. I emphasize the word possession here because some persons will claim, especially when they are caught abandoning an animal, they will say, no, this is not ours. this is just a stray dog or a stray cat who gave birth to our kuan inside our house. So I am disposing these kittens, and well, it's not mine. I have no ownership over these animals. But under this Animal Welfare Act, it is still abandonment because you are in possession of that animal. Or if the animals are left in circumstances likely to cause the animal any unnecessary suffering, or if this abandonment results in the death of the animal. Abuse, cruelty, and neglect. This includes every act, omission, or neglect whereby there is unnecessary or unjustifiable physical pain or suffering caused to the animal. I emphasize omission to highlight the fact that neglect is an omission of your duty towards your pets, your animals. Also, I highlighted the unnecessary or unjustifiable because there are cases where unfortunately we have to inflict pain or suffering to the animals, especially in cases of euthanasia. There is also abuse, cruelty, and neglect through physical cruelty by assault, by overwork. For example, those horses in the Tartanilla, by deprivation of adequate food, water, and shelter, and proper care during transport. So there are also cases where the dogs or the cats are placed in under the under the bus, the compartment, bus compartment. So sometimes they don't reach their destination, they die, unfortunately. That is abuse and cruelty. Euthanasia, as it's defined as the ethical process of inducing humane and painless death to the animals. I highlighted the word ethical. Actually, the word ethical appears only 3 times in this law. The euthanasia only appears in the definition of terms just once. But you can see later on that euthanasia is discreetly used in some provisions. Syndicate. This is not the typical drug syndicate. Syndicate, as defined in this law, is if the violation is carried out by a group of 3 or more persons conspiring or confederating with one another. We might as well remember this syndicate because they have a different penalties for violations. Okay, let's start first. Before we go into the violations, let's start first with our responsibilities as pet owners under Animal Welfare Act. We have to, as pet owners, it is our responsibility to provide them with basic needs, to maintain their clean and sanitary facility and receptacles, their food bowls, water bowls. We have to provide them veterinary care, exercise and play, and other responsibilities. As to provision of basic needs, it is the responsibility of the pet owner to provide the animal with appropriate and sufficient food and water, exercise, safe and comfortable shelter that is appropriate and sufficient based on the classification, size, and behavior of the animal. So you might have a pet puppy a few months ago, but maybe he has outgrown the cage that you bought for him. So you need to have another cage, a bigger one. So what do you do with your smaller cage? You donate it to Paw Pantry Mission. Okay? And animals must also be fed in accordance with an appropriate schedule. So there's a schedule for, it depends on the animal that you are taking care of. And also, there's an exception here. except otherwise might be required to provide adequate veterinary care. I think this applies to instances where you want to have your animals spayed or neutered. There will be certain number of hours before the operation that they are not allowed to eat or drink fluids. Here, food must be uncontaminated, wholesome, palatable, and of sufficient quantity and nutritive value to maintain the normal condition and weight of the animal. Actually, this is common in um, urban, rural areas. The food that they give to their dogs or their cats are just leftovers from their meals, and sometimes these leftovers are already spoiled, contaminated. This is sad because some of them cannot afford to buy cat food or dog food. They just provide what is available. But according to the law, it must be uncontaminated, wholesome, and palatable. The diet must be appropriate for the animal's age and condition. So if you have a puppy, please don't give him an adult dog food. The animal must also have easy access to clean water at all times para sa iyang hydration. Must ensure that appropriate shelter for the species is provided. I have encountered some cases wherein the dog, in these cases, the dog are just leashed to a certain post, and if it comes rain time, when it rains, the dog will just find any shade to cover him from rain. Sometimes wala joy no shelter at all, so mabasa siya. Also, ma-exposed to direct sunlight. Oh, there. It must have no unnecessary or extreme exposure to direct sunlight, weather condition, taking into account the natural habitat, allowing the same to express its natural behavior. Another responsibility is this is common in cat parents. Maintenance of clean and sanitary facility and receptacles. The facility in which the animal is confined, kept, or bred must always be clean and sanitary. Receptacles used for food and water must be accessible to the animal and must be located so as to minimize contamination by excreta and pests and be protected from the weather. This happens usually if the animal is caged and the cage is not big enough. The food bowl usually is just very near the feces or the urine. So there's a danger there of contamination. Sometimes it's aggravated by the fact that food is contaminated as well. So it must be situated at a distance. It is also a problem on leashed pets because they cannot go elsewhere. They have to stay where they are where they are tied. We must also provide them veterinary care, but this is with a caveat. A person responsible for the welfare of an animal shall, in accordance with his or her means. So, we cannot force someone who cannot even afford to put table on his plate and force food on his plate and ask him to provide vet care for his animals. This is a case-to-case basis and must always be in accordance with the means of the pet owner. This one, veterinarians are encouraged to report all violations of Section 6 of RA 8485. Actually, this is not directly a responsibility of pet owner. but just an encouragement to veterinarians to report cases of Section 6. Section 6 refers to abuse, cruelty, and neglect of animals because most often than not, if the animal is rescued from abuse or cruelty, and we will bring them to veterinarian, the veterinarian will can attest to the medical condition, physical and medical condition of the abused animal. So they're also encouraged to take their part in prosecution of these violators. Here, exercise and play. Playtime sa atong pets. The person responsible must for the welfare of an animal shall follow an appropriate plan to provide said animal with opportunity to exercise. So it depends on the breed, the size, the age of the animal. So playtime. So enrichment activities and toys must likewise be provided. So our pets will be happy for this, except for cats who don't like toys. Just cartoons will do. Responsibilities of pet owners, handlers, and the like. This is just similar to the previous responsibilities, so I'll just skip this. Now, abuse, cruelty, and neglect. These are the main violations committed by persons. Cruelty to animals. This refers to acts or omissions towards animals inflicted either physically or psychologically, including acts of neglect. I emphasize the word omissions because neglect is also a form of cruelty. Failure, deliberate refusal to provide for his basic needs is an omission and is a cruelty. I also emphasize the word psychologically because, as you know, as defined in the definition of terms, animals are sentient beings. They are capable of feeling. And there are times where the animals are traumatized. As you may have noticed, there are dogs that are very agitated when they see a person. And they said that the reason for that agitation is that they have previous bad experience from other persons. So there's a psychological impact on that animal, causing the same to suffer from unnecessary pain, suffering, and distress. The cruelty to animals, there are the law listed in the Animal Welfare Act, but they are not limited to the following. An act that causes unnecessary animal suffering or pain, exposing the animal to inhumane conditions, treatment that is inhumane, such as but not limited to overcrowding, neglect, or failure to provide adequate care, sustenance, shelter, unnecessary restraint. I emphasize this unnecessary restraint because I have seen cases also where they the animal was to the point of being strangled. The collar was very tight on his neck. Considering that dog was already skin and bones, the collar was still very very tight wrapped around her neck. When she was brought to the veterinarian, yeah, when they removed the collar, it was already embedded in the neck area, and there it was already gangrenous, and eventually the dog died because of that very tight restraint. Overworking an animal or failure to provide necessary rest and shelter. I think you have heard cases here in Cebu wherein a horse in Manalili, in downtown Colon, I think, suddenly collapsed because of overworking. So Very unfortunate. Improper and inhumane practices in use of animals during research, television, or cinematic production. I don't know if you've heard of the movie Oro. Um, it's an entry to the MMFF festival. I don't know what year. I can't remember the year. But in that movie, they slaughtered a dog on
I remember. Yes.
on cam. And it was not a kuana, it was a live dog. It was not a props or something. They had a case. I don't know the result yet. I tried to search for the decision, but I cannot find. But it's one of those instances of animal cruelty in cinematic production. Inhumane handling and improper stunning of animals for slaughter. So I will not delve on this, but there are many memorandum circulars on how to on what are the acceptable modes of stunning or euthanizing animals for slaughter. So the last that I read is the most acceptable form is gunshot because it's fast and it's painless. And also, inhumane handling and improper stunning of animals for slaughter. I have read an article, I think it was in Mindoro, wherein the unclaimed dogs that are for euthanasia in their city pound, instead of instead of gunshot, what they use is tambutso. They suffocate the puppies, the dogs, using tambutso sa motor. And it's very painful. It's they will linger in pain for a while before they die. So that's an inhumane handling and such other analogous act, situation, or condition. I'm sure you've heard of the Asturias dogs. Very recent. Yeah, they can be held liable under these provisions: abuse, cruelty, and neglect. Prohibition on animal fights. This is interesting. For me, this is interesting because the Animal Welfare Act specifically prohibits subject animals to fights, such as but not limited to dog fighting, horse fighting, and bullfighting. However, if you may have noticed, cockfighting is still legal. This is one of the inconsistencies in Philippine laws, wherein they are animals and they are forced to fight each other. So they squarely fall on this prohibition on animal fights. But it was still considered legal on Sundays, legal holidays, and during fiestas. So some organizations, animal welfare organizations, are actually pushing for the cockfighting to be declared illegal. So I hope they succeed. Abandonment. Also, I think this is more common than cruelty to animals. Abandonment. Leaving an animal behind alone or otherwise relinquishing ownership, charge, control, custody, responsibility, or possession of the animal. Under circumstances likely to deprive an animal of the shelter, protection, feeding, and general care necessary for its survival or well-being. Just a week ago, I stumbled upon 4 newborn kittens that was abandoned in near a garbage dump. It was clearly abandoned because they were inside a sack, sa kubag. So I cannot think that there's a mama cat there. It's clearly abandoned, and whoever abandoned that, karma. Or expose an animal to abuse, maltreatment, cruelty, exploitation, cause an animal to suffer fear, distress, harassment, or unnecessary discomfort and pain, and deprive an animal the freedom to express its normal natural behavior. I have encountered kuan. It's not a case that I handled, but I read in Facebook wherein there's an establishment here in Cebu. They urged the management urged their staff to take those cats and transfer it somewhere else. The term is isaag. What's saag in Tagalog? Oh, iligaw. Yes.
Illegal.
This is also a form of abandonment because you are leaving an animal in circumstance where you are depriving them of their shelter, protection, feeding, and general care. Here, a person who abandons or otherwise leaves an animal in circumstances or places an animal in a situation likely to cause the animal unnecessary suffering or result in the death of the animal shall be presumed to have charge or control of the animal so abandoned. So, if masakpan, if caught in the act, he cannot say that, no, this is my neighbor's cat, he asked me to dispose of them. The law presumes that person to be a person responsible, and as a person responsible, he has obligations to that animal. So what are circumstances likely to cause unnecessary suffering or death? These include denial of or refusing access to food, water, shelter, and protection appropriate to the weather. Hello? Okay, Rafa. Vet care and other necessary factors, factors necessary for the survival of the animal. This one, care and handling of abandoned animals. Any person who has found an abandoned animal shall immediately attend to the animal's immediate need for food, water, or any emergency or necessary medical care. It's also provided that animals shall be brought within 5 days to the nearest veterinary office, police station, barangay, or registered animal shelter. The finder shall exert diligent efforts to locate the owner. And you must also have it recorded in the blotter or certificate issued by said institutions. The finder may thereafter have the option to personally adopt the animal. Now, personally, I think this is a circuitous provision, and I think it does not answer to the urgency of the welfare of the animals. Usually these provisions are bypassed when we find an abandoned animal, and it's clearly it's very clear that it was abandoned. We automatically post it up for adoption. Yeah, here in the case of pets or animals abandoned, they may be subject to euthanasia. Here, otherwise dealt ethically by the proper authorities. It was not stated that it's euthanasia, but the definition of euthanasia is there. So they will be put down. So if regarding these violations, we have different penalties according to the degree of their violation. The penalty may be imprisonment and or fine. So the court may impose both, or the court may impose just one, imprisonment or fine. If If the animal subjected to cruelty or maltreatment dies, the penalty is 1 year, 6 months, 1 day, up to 2 years, and or a fine of 100,000. If the animal survives but severely injured, 1 year, 1 day to 1 year and 6 months. 50,000 penalty. I will fast track this ko ha. Kay I think ilan na taas pa ba ang time? Gamay na lang. Without causing death or incapacitating the animal, 6 months to 1 year and or a fine of not exceeding 30,000. Here, if the violation is committed by a juridical person, that's why I defined the person earlier, the officer of that corporation or association shall therefore serve the imprisonment. If the violation is committed by an alien, he will be deported. Here, regardless of resulting conditions, 2 years, 1 day, up to 3 years, and 250,000 if it was committed by a syndicate, 3 or more persons, or an offender who makes business out of cruelty to an animal, like siya mo'y nagpasimunoan ng dog fight, a public officer or employee, or where at least 3 animals are involved. For example, in kanang mass murder of kanang poisoning of dogs or cats. Okay. So far that's the Animal Welfare Act. I'll proceed directly to Anti-Rabies Act. I will entertain questions later na. Okay. I'll just fast track this ha. I will skip the definition of terms. I know you know the meaning of dog. Okay. So in the interest of justice, ako lang yan. Okay. In the interest of justice. In the interest of time, I'll be highlighting the penalties na lang aning Anti-Rabies Act. And I will end it after. So actually the Anti-Rabies Act is quite short and is quite straightforward. You have responsibilities like registering your dog. By the way, Anti-Rabies Act is specific for dogs lang ha. Okay, penalties. If you refuse to register your dog, that would be 2,000. If your dog, unvaccinated dog, will bite someone, you will be liable for the vaccination of that dog and the individual bitten. Pet owners who refuse to have their dog under observation after biting an individual will be fined 10,000 pesos. This is very important. Pet owners who refuse to have their dog put under observation and do not shoulder the medical expenses of the person bitten by their dog shall be meted a fine of 25,000 pesos. So you have to shoulder the medical expenses. Pet owners who refuse to put a leash on their dogs while they are brought outside the house shall be meted a fine of 500 pesos. So if you go out, please have it leashed. The recommended length of leash is must not be more than 1.5 meters. Penalties. I'll just skip the others ha. Here. Any animal impounded which is not reclaimed by its owner within 72 hours, that's 3 days, shall be deemed to be abandoned and shall be disposed of by the LGU through adoption or euthanasia. So, balik na sa ang euthanasia. But however, there are certain cases that the impounded animal will not be allowed to live for another 72 hours. This is when it is dangerous to retain. For example, na siya rabies. It is suffering from pain or discomfort. And it is diagnosed with a contagious and highly communicable disease, either to humans or animals. For example, parvo. It's very contagious. And it will be dangerous to other animals within that pound. Okay na? So I'll just have to end it here. New Civil Code is Article 2183. The possessor is an animal whoever make use of the same is responsible for the damage, even if that animal escaped or lost the premises of that possessor. Take note that the law uses the word possessor. It does not require ownership. So this responsibility shall cease only in case the damage should come from force majeure or from the fault of the person who has suffered damage. For example, siya mismo ang he harassed your pet and the pet kanang reacted. You have no responsibility there. So I think I'm pressed for time na. I just have to stop there. I will email July the PowerPoint, and if you want to have a copy of the PowerPoint, please ask July. Okay? Okay na?
Thanks,
Thank you.
So thank you very much, attorney, and thank you very much. Okay na, attorney, pero like thank you kaayo for breaking down some of the terms na may be alien to some, and for discussing everything. You have knowledge about the what's it called this? The Animal Welfare Act and Anti-Rabies Act. So thank you kaayo, attorney, and if anyone has any questions for attorney, please make sure to just type it down sa chat box, or for those on our FB or watching from our FB live, you can leave it in the comment section. Alright, so we will have an open forum later. So yes, let's now move on to our next speaker. So our next speaker is a biologist and currently works at Conservation Education Department of the Philippine Eagle Foundation in Davao City. So he engages the public to partake in the Philippine eagle conservation efforts by raising awareness. He also advocates for animal welfare of companion animals. He is a cat mom to shark, orca, manta, and narwhal, and has been with Island Rescue Organization since 2016. So everybody, let us welcome Miss Calai Salvacion. Hi, Miss Calai.
Hi. Thank you, Karen, for that introduction. Thank you, Attorney Richard, for sharing that. There's so much to learn from Atty. I know about our laws on animal welfare. So, I'm Calai Salvacion. I'm one of the officers and board members of Island Rescue Organization. And on behalf of the whole team, I'll be sharing basic information or instructions on the process of reporting animal cruelty. So these may not be exactly applicable to all scenarios. We still highly recommend that you use your best judgment and critical thinking and utilize the right resources, especially if your safety is on the line. Okay? So in the coming slides, sharing steps on how to report animal cruelty, which our team curated based on organization's data and experience through the years of operation. So this would be from a rescue group's standpoint, not more on the whole litigation process, as we can't do that in a 15-minute talk. Besides, we were side by side at Atty. Richard earlier. He's the best person to talk about the law. Okay, so before we proceed, let me give a brief background of a non-profit government organization composed of volunteers who decided to dedicated to helping the plight of animals in the pillars: rescue, amputation, and use a holistic approach in So that's just a few of the people behind IRO, the supporters, the volunteers, the donors. We believe that as a rescue group, we have a responsibility to educate the community about the significance of responsible pet ownership in relation to our health and wellness. And by health and wellness, we meant safety and peace of mind. But how do we really feel safe on the streets and in our own community from an animal welfare standpoint? No, it's simple. So having less strays on the streets contribute to road safety. And I'm not just isolating or I'm not just referring to vehicular accidents, no, but also incidents of dog bites and rabies cases. No, si Attorney Richard reiterated that component ganina, no, katong about rabies. So keeping our pets indoors, getting them fixed, no, spayed, neutered, having them vaccinated. What else? Ensuring they feel safe, taking good care of them, making them feel comfortable and well exercised, are key elements in reducing stray population and reducing animal cruelty cases. Some irresponsible pet owners and animal abusers may have started as pet lovers, they are just uninformed or unprepared, but let me clarify, let me be very clear about this, that I'm not justifying their actions, and I'm especially not defending violence and neglect, but humans as we are prone to burnouts, as pet parents as well, which is why we also need to have population control and behavior management among the animals under our care. So if we don't manage the population of the pets in our household, it's going to be chaos, eventually. It's already a big challenge, living our lives, managing our own careers, taking care of our families, at the same time raising pets. So if we don't manage that component of our lives, we'd end up losing space, time, and even resources, and sometimes even relationships, or hugot, for the others, It's like biting off more than we could chew, and eventually that stress is going to manifest through our actions, or worse, inactions, next photo, please. So that's why in our social media accounts, we always ask our reporters to also do their part, because we can't do it alone. We can only do so much. We're not even embarrassed saying this. We cannot rescue all strays, and even if we could, hypothetically, it won't be sustainable until people start to act and become responsible pet parents themselves. So the whole point of having an education and information campaign is to let the public understand the significance of being part of this mission, to let the public understand that rescue groups are not the only ones responsible and should not be the only ones responsible in reducing animal rescue cases. It's about changing human behavior. So next photo, please. So IRO is a non-government organization. We are a non-profit organization. We do not have any authorization to confiscate animals from abusive pet parents or households right then and there. We know it's upsetting to witness someone abusing an animal, but when you commit, or when you give us accurate information, you make it faster for us to coordinate with the authorities like the barangay officials and the PNP. So I use the word commit, because we need you to follow through as a reporter. Please do not lead us to blind investigations as well. No, we are not detectives. We can't go knocking on doors every time we get a report. That's why we have probing questions. So please remember that harassment and trespassing can also be charged sa amin, sa amo, so if we go to certain properties, for example, unprepared and without any basis at all, it could cost us our liberty as well. So we need your help. So we've had several cases in which the reporter really followed through, no? Just giving an example, but that person could actually still remain anonymous. So if that's your concern, no, na you don't want your neighbors to know that you were the reporter, we can keep you anonymous, no? Actually, that neighbor being reported didn't know where we got the information from at all, no? So we can keep your identity in confidence, no? If that's what you worry about. So we understand safety concerns within neighborhood, so we respect the anonymity requests, no? So there shouldn't be any reason to leave us hanging after telling us something's going on in that certain household, no? Next photo, please. So let's start by defining what animal cruelty is. So, very briefly lang, just a recap, no? So I know Attorney Richard mentioned this earlier, no? And this time I'm going to quote the Humane Society. They defined animal cruelty as, and I'll just read it out loud. So animal cruelty encompasses a range of behaviors harmful to animals, from neglect to malicious killing. So animal cruelty is not limited, no, to seeing, and sorry for the words, no, seeing the actual kicking, stabbing, shooting, beating, or any intentional harm towards the animals. No, it can involve neglect. Attorney mentioned this a couple of times kanina, no, neglect, no, such as depriving animal of water, shelter, food, and necessary medical treatment. So that's animal cruelty already. So you see your role as a reporter, no, is integral in saving the animal from unnecessary harm, injury, and even death. No, next photo, please. No? So without further delay, let me share, no, some tips on how to report animal cruelty based on our experience as well. No, so this is a local action. No, so one is take ownership. How do we do this? No, so we have a couple of factors under taking ownership. Um, of course, first you decide. No, decide who you want to share it with. Decide who you want to ask help from, no? So tell a family member, tell a friend, no? Tell a colleague or a rescue group, tell us, no? Tell Pantry Mission, tell IRO, and other rescue groups in Cebu, no? So no man is an island, no? You need a partner, you need someone you can confide to who could provide you support, no? Second, commit, no? So witnessing abuse is upsetting already, but doing nothing about it, knowing you could have done something, is even more upsetting. In fact, it's exhausting. No? So do not assume, no, that someone else will help. Everybody else thinks the same. No, we call it the bystander effect. So nothing happens, diba? Of course, third, you have to assess. No, so most cruelty investigated are actually unintentional neglect, no, that can be resolved through education. That's why you need to assess. If it's something you can fix in your level, then do something about it right then and there, no? So speak up, because if you don't, who else will, diba? If it's within your neighborhood, no, within your community, chances are you know these people, your parents know them, no, you're friends with those people. Take that as an opportunity to educate, no, to share what you know, to offer support, no. So we have this line: don't hate, educate. But let's try to apply that. No, if you start judging them or or interrogating them without offering any help or suggestions, recommendations, it will only make things worse, no. So let me give some examples. I'll make it very quick lang. If you see a chained dog, no, under the rain, you can actually befriend his, pet owners, no, and help them make positive changes, no, to care for their animal companions. No, you can do that. It's like partnering with them, no, to make their animals' lives better, no. And if children, for example, are throwing stones at strays, no, don't hesitate to tell them to stop what they're doing. But also you have to explain why it's wrong to hurt animals, no. So you have that obligation. And of course, fourth, you have to know the law, no. See, Attorney Richard is the best speaker today about the law, and we learned a lot kanina. I'm sure now there's more to know, but we can't do that in a 1 hour sitting, no. If we could have attorney for a full day, no, that would be great. But it's important to know the basics, no, so we can properly educate other people about the potential consequences of their actions, no? So I'm sure mahadlok man din mapriso, no? Or tapot makulong, yun yung tawag, no? Sa yung mga people. So, next photo, please. So there, no, that's what we have about taking ownership, no? Second would be to document, no? So what are the components under documentation? So one, take down notes, no? So it matters to have the date, the time, location, persons involved, no, and details of the abuse, no. So it's also relevant that you note down that you tried to educate them already, that you spoke with them, and that you offered help, no. So note down how they responded as well. It helps you more than it helps them, no. But of course, as I mentioned before we started, please tell a family member or a friend, no, because your safety is still a priority, no. Second, of course, take photos and videos, no. The second you see that something is wrong, take a photo or a video with your phone, of course, to document the details if you can. Be sure to capture some important information like the license plates, no, for example, ng mga hit and run, no, and a visual of the abuser, for example, no. So please do so without also risking personal injury, no. So if you can also gather witnesses, no, that would be a big help as well, no, in the investigation. So that's the third component under documentation, no. So we all know animal cruelty is a crime, right? But in order to prosecute criminals, no, in violation of the Animal Welfare Act, you must also be willing to file an affidavit. So it's a sworn statement, right? But if you're not willing to give a sworn statement, please look for another eyewitness, no, who is willing. At diba ganina I mentioned na it's best if you have a friend or a family who knows about it as well. So maybe that friend would be willing to be the eyewitness, diba? So there, no. Fourth would be report to authorities. So who are the authorities, no? So report it to the barangay, no? If you're still hoping that it could be resolved by a visit from the community officers or the barangay canons, no? But if you think it needs to be escalated already, then you can proceed to the local PNP stations, no? In the Philippines, you can actually report animal cruelty cases to BAI, Bureau of Animal Industry, no? So if you have a local office in your area, you can also give them a ring, no? And there are also cities that have a good animal pound programs. You can also report animal cruelty cases to your local city vets, no? Next photo, please. Ayan. So question now is, when does a rescue group get involved, no? Or how does a rescue group get involved, no? Knowing we are an NGO. So of course, first when the reporter asks for help, no, we listen, we try to understand. So as an NGO, we have our limitations as well, no. When it comes to resolving animal cruelty cases, we can't do a lot, no. Remember, without any willing witness and without an affidavit, IRO cannot help file a case, no. It will not push through. We can try, but the efforts would only be downgraded to a mere blotter or incident report. So sayang, di ba? So the cycle of abuse continues, and mas mag-escalate pa siguro siya, no, because of revenge, no. Second would be if we have a chance to educate and if we could offer solutions, no. So which is why we need to correct it at the early onset, no. When you see red flags, for example, no, take action immediately. The sounds of a dog, no, pag either hurt siya or like if somebody's trying to kick the dog, no, the sound, right? So we can offer solutions together, no, we can accompany you, no. Third is if we could provide shelter, no. So as a rescue group, we also have 3 shelters. We have Casachimal, we have the old Atty, and we have IRO camp, no. So IRO had rehabilitated, no, several animals that we rescued from abusive households as well, no. So we can foster, no, we can rehab the animal, but based on behavior evaluations by our vets as well, we identify if the animal is eligible for rehoming. If yes, we screen applicants, no, we find a good match based on its temperament. But if not, the animal retires at our sanctuary for good, no? And then fourth is filing a case, no? So IRO had filed several cases in the past. We've won quite a few. And what's common among those wins were the reporters who committed, no? Ni-commit yun sila all throughout. They didn't leave us, no? So we also give, of course, special acknowledgement to the lawyers who dedicated their time and talent to help carry out justice, no? We couldn't even give that big of a budget, no, sa Ilaha, because we are also relying on sponsorships. When we have our volunteers and donors who give us reams of bond papers or ink for the printers, no, as simple as that, and even fare for the litigation team, and some even offering meals, no. Our friends from the media also help us in like press conferences. So you see, it takes a village to help the voiceless animals, and it's not just the responsibility of one organization, no. So make sure as well that you win the cases. You have to thank the people who helped. You share the victories with them. Make sure that it's acknowledged as well, no. If you do that, they will be motivated and will be inspired to help more animals, no, and maybe echo that to their friends. So I think that's about it. I hope that I didn't eat up much of the time. I have come to the end of this short knowledge share. No, so let's recap the important things, no, we need in filing a case, no, there. So of course, ano yung unsa yung mga important, no? Of course, an affidavit, no, a sworn statement, persons involved, no, as attorney's technical term ganina, no, persons responsible, tama ba to? Attorney, diba? And then photos, videos, no, if you could, other witnesses, exact location, vet certificate, no, it's also important, the time in the video. So next slide, please. And of course, recap, no, on the agencies that you can report the cases to. You can go to your barangay, you can go to PNP, you can go to BAI, your city vet, and of course, animal welfare groups, no. So last na, I guess, no. So there, thank you for wanting to learn more, no, on how to be part of this mission, no, this animal welfare industry, and we hope that you could also echo this learning to your family and friends, and hopefully we'll see you volunteering for IRO as well. The team is currently at Park Mall right now, an adoption event, so we hope you could drop by. So I think that's it. So thank you so much, Co-Pantry Mission, for this opportunity. Salamat.
All right. So thank you so much, Ms. Calai, for that very informative presentation. So now we as individuals now know what we can do whenever we encounter mga animal cruelty na mga instances. So Ms. Calai has given us the steps that we can take so we can properly report to the proper authorities. All right. Again, so everyone, if you have questions, please post them in our chat group, or for our FB Live viewers, you can post it in our comment section as well. So, we had a sort of technical difficulty, and our FB viewers weren't able to hear my introduction for Ms. Calai. So let me just repeat that for our FB viewers. So Calai Salvacion is a biologist, and she currently works at Conservation Education Department of the Philippine Eagle Foundation in Davao City. And while she engages the public to partake in the Philippine eagle conservation efforts by raising awareness, Calai also advocates for animal welfare of companion animals. She is a cat mom to shark, orca, manta, and narwhal, and has been with Island Rescue Organization since 2016. All right, so it's now time for us to have an open forum, and Ms. Calai and Attorney Richard will answer your questions. Okay, so we have a question earlier from Miss Janelle. Hello. So from Miss Janelle, she was asking, does the government have project like finance shelters saving these abandoned animals? Yeah.
I think ako na naka-address. Honestly, I haven't heard of it yet. No. What I've gone, what I know of is partnership with NGOs and other animal welfare groups. So, as I understood the situation, the question that the government will finance these welfare groups, shelters. Is that correct, Junel?
Okay.
Na,
Janelle?
sakto ba ako?
Yeah. I also had the same understanding that I think she's asking if the government have projects or programs wherein they finance shelters saving the abandoned animals.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it, honestly.
Oh,
Just partnership. Oh.
I think for there's a new I think it's in the news. The Quezon City has the adoption animal care and adoption center. So
Mm.
I think basig mo ani iyahang refer, but it depends on the LGU if they have the budget, and if you are an animal group, maybe you can propose to the LGU if they are willing to partner such kind of these projects.
Yeah, and ang partnership is between the pound sa LGU and the animal welfare group or any NGO concerned. Oh.
all right. So hopefully, Janelle, you are able to answer your question. So from our FB comments, we have Miss Annalyn who's asking, this is probably for attorney. She is asking, is it against the law to raffle a dog or cat, or can animals be given away as prizes?
Uh, I think it's not disallowed by law as long as as you exercise your responsibilities as pet owner under the Animal Welfare Act. As defined in the Animal Welfare Act, person responsible, it includes there you acquire the animal through gift or through donation or other method. So that's a piece of advice, maybe unsolicited. If 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 they think that they cannot handle or take care of the gift, the animal might as well refuse it na lang. Hmm. But as to the question, is it illegal? I don't think it's illegal. No. As long as you take care of it. Not taking care of it, that would be a violation of Animal Welfare Act.
All right. So thank you very much, attorney, for that one. So we have a question here for Ma'am Calai. Is it required to have witnesses before you file an affidavit?
From our experience, no, we really ask for the reporter to be the witness himself or herself. And if he or he doesn't want to do that, then there has to be someone else who could do it, a neighbor or family member perhaps. Kasi we tried it in the past, no, na the motion was quashed. I'm sure attorney would agree na it would only go down as a mere accusation if no one would stand there in front of the fiscal, no, and attest that this really happened. So to also defend ourselves, no, and our reputation, we think now we can't push through in filing cases if this person who reported is not willing to follow through, no, until the end. So in those cases, no, which happens most of the time of investigation, we join them in educating that certain household, and we even came to a point that that person involved had to like put that dog up for adoption. And we don't want to tolerate, of course, animal abuse and just get their animal and it's done, right? But of course, since we are also into changing human behavior, we are giving them an opportunity to reform. So there were cases before na the reported person did actual community service at our shelter for at least a week or a month, no? So there's the opportunity to educate as well, no? So there. I'm just also speaking from the level of work that he could do, no, as an NGO with a small budget.
Miss Calai, I have a follow-up question regarding sa question previously. For example, naka-witness ang reporter ng animal cruelty tapos he wasn't able to have the evidence like filming or what. Is it enough na ba as an evidence yung word of mouth ng witness for filing of case?
I think
Or
I'd have
may-
to defer that to attorney. No, that's a very good question. I think I also
Baka
want to know.
madidismiss lang.
So the question is it sufficient na word of mouth lang, walang physical evidence, walang pictures or videos? Yes, actually, what the law requires is personal knowledge of the witness. So it does not really require a picture, a photo, or video, or as long as the witness will identify the accused or will identify the subject of the complaint, like the abused animal. I think the case will still prosper.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Especially the case will prosper even if it's just word of mouth, as there is personal knowledge, and I think it will be more airtight case if there are other witnesses who can corroborate the incident. So even if there's no picture, there's no photo, or as long as one or two persons independently saw the incident, the cruelty, the abuse, it will prosper.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, attorney, for answering that question. So we have a question sent in our PPM inbox. So is it humane if one LGU or group will release the impounded dogs or cats to a secluded place or forest because they don't have dog pound or cat pound? Is it?
Siguro I could start, no? If we say humane, sometimes it's subjective, mansan, no? I think it's irresponsible if there's a right term, no, to coin. It would be irresponsible. Of course, dogs and cats, they are also territorial, even if they are domesticated animals, no. They could also mark their own territories, and if you just release them in that secluded area, we don't know if they could be the cause of chaos in that neighborhood. No, they also have their own animals roaming, no? Especially sa mga provinces, for example, it's common that you have animals roaming, no? Kasi dili man dun siya highway, no? I think it would be irresponsible, and we all know that some feral cats are also threat to wildlife, no? Especially to birds, no? And dili na ta mo go that far, but yeah, I think that's my take on it.
All right. So naka-additional ato, attorney, or naman?
To directly answer the question, is it humane? Dili siya humane, I think. It will not. It's mura lang kag nag-relocate og dogs, stray dogs, and it does not really squarely address the problem of strays. I think
Wala siyang violation sa Anti-Rabies Act, attorney. Wala siya violation sa Anti-Rabies Act.
Ito na siya sa Animal Cruelty, sa
Hmm.
Animal Welfare Act. O, abandonment.
Ah,
Oo. Kuan, I think it happened here in Philippines na island
sa Bohol.
sa Bohol nga magbangka jud ang mga tao just to abandon their cats and dogs.
Oh.
O dito. It's very unfortunate na apektuhan sa dang ilahang kuan. Siyempre na uban nga nahimo ng kanibal. Ang uban kay mamatay lang yun because kuan, they don't have proper shelter. They don't have kanang dili sila fit for ang Katwa Island is not fit for kuan for their well-being. So, is it humane? Dili. So, mo na siya.
All right. So thank you very much. So do we have any additional questions from people? Like, do you want to speak up or like ask your questions
Or
personally? You
share
can-
insights.
Yes, share your insights or experiences. If not, my experience regarding reporting animal cruelty cases. 10, 9. Oh, nag-countdown lagi. So, if we don't have any other questions, then maybe if or na late mo og tan-aw sa mo ang webinar, you can just post it sa mo ang Facebook live na video, and we will try our best to get those questions answered. Okay, so right now we will start closing our webinar, but before that we will we will hear from Cha, and she will give us a closing message and about the activities that PPM has for now.
Hello, everyone. Once again po, ako si Cha from Paw Pantry Mission. So I'll just keep my part lang short because, ayan, we are running out of time na. So I'll just be presenting yung current activities ng organization namin. So right now, we are having this community pond tree drive. So this is our second for the whole year. And just to give you an overview lang, this is a biannual activity. So we are conducting this every July and December. So the main goal of this event or this tawag na mission is to provide support po dun sa mga local animal shelters that we have, animal rescuers, stray feeders, foster parents, and those who are in the animal welfare community. So the target amount that we have for this December, for the month of December, is 60,000 pesos. And we have around 30 plus beneficiaries in Cebu province, including Cebu City and Iloilo. Ayan. So, if you want to support us, okay, I'll just, ayan, if you want to support us, these are the things that we need. Food supplies, medical supplies, cleaning supplies, general pet supplies for the animal shelters, may mga cages, crates, food bowls, and medicines also. And lastly, food, meals, and snacks for the volunteers. And also, later on, I will be presenting how you can donate or how you can give us your support. So aside from the community Pantry Drive, we are also doing this raffle fundraiser. Okay. So this one is for us to gather more donations for our December food drive. So thankfully, we do have participating local brands who are supporting us by giving their um, tawag niyan, shares, ayan, not only through monetary donations but also in-kind donations. So you will be, aside from donating, you can also have the chance to win prizes. So if you want to learn more about those prizes, we can give you the link sa chat box later on, or someone can send the link para po mabigyan ng information yung audience natin. So if you want to join, okay, ito pala yung aming mga local brands, participating local brands. So thank you very much if any of you from these local brands who are present today. Thank you so much for supporting Paw Pantry Mission. And ayan, how to join, okay? So if you want to join, you can donate po through the link pawpantrymission.org/donation. So just indicate lang din sa remarks that this is for the Raffle Fundraiser or for the Community Pantry Drive. And after you have donated, you just send us the copy of the transaction slip via Facebook. Okay, ayan. Paw Pantry Mission, just message our page para po ma-confirm namin yung inyong raffle entry. So by 100 pesos only, you just donate for only 100 pesos and you can now have a one raffle entry. So wala pong limit dun sa wala pong limit sa how many raffle entries as long as na-occupy na po yung 100 slots. Ayan. So once na po na-occupy na yung slots, we will be having our draw this November 16, Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Ayan, via Picker Wheel po, and we will be doing that via FB Live. Okay? Um, what's next? Ayan, 3 days left na lang. November 16 po yung ating big day for our raffle fundraising. And lastly, if other ways for helping us aside from donating, you can also become our event sponsors like the local participating brands that I presented earlier. You can be our drive partner. You just send us an email po via pawpantrymission@gmail.com or send us a message via Facebook. And second is you can be our volunteer. So ano pa yung mga volunteering opportunities aside from donation? You can be our transpo volunteer. You can also be our foster parent. What else? What else do we need? If you have other skills that you want to share, pwede niyo pa kami i-message and then we'll be giving you a place in our organization for you to share what you have. So lastly, you can help us through following our social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram. You can like and comment and share our posts para pa magkaroon tayo ng mas malaking reach. Ayan, again, thank you so much everyone for attending our second session of the webinar series, Animal Welfare Community. Thank you also to our guest speakers, Attorney Richard and Miss Calai. Thank you so much for accepting our invitations. And also to everyone sa Facebook Live na nagwa-watch ngayon and here in Zoom, thank you so much for attending our session. So once again, good afternoon everyone and I hope that you have a great day for the rest of the day and keep safe. Ayan, thank you.
Salamat kayo.
Salamat.
We hope you join our next webinars and thank you very much for giving time for this activity. So thank you guys, and this is where our webinar session should end.